Renard, thank you so much for joining us today. I always mention that I know as an EA, time is so valuable, especially when you're in the C suite. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that you're giving some time to the community to share your insight, the drive over here, all of that. So just take a minute to say thank you.
Oh, welcome, man. I was excited to be on this podcast.
Yeah.
So looking forward to our conversation.
I told you earlier, I feel like I already know you because I've heard a few episodes now of your podcast, Black Belts and Boardrooms. So let's just hop in there. I'm curious, what inspired you to begin your podcast?
Oh man, that's a great question. For me, I was just getting comfortable being on podcasts at first, and my co-host Amir, we're in the same executive coaching cohort. So we wind up connecting together. We find out we have some synergies together, being black belts, and he's a black belt in Taekwondo. I'm a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. And he asked me, he was like, if you ever think about doing a podcast, he was like, let me know. And I was like, okay.
Uh-huh.
We talked about it, we planned it, and it's been great ever since. So, you're talking about a person of Mears, he's in Austin, I'm in Dallas. We've never even met each other in person. We will next week, but today we haven't even met each other in person, and we built a podcast that's doing great. We've had great guests on there
Hmm.
that has just transcended our podcast and hearing their stories. I've always been a person of connection and hearing other people's journeys, and this gives us a chance to hear people at every level. If you're, just entry level, if you're a person in sports, different industries, we get to hear that, and we get to enjoy hearing someone's journey and what they have done. I enjoy it. I keep saying I'm going to keep doing it till it feels like work,
Uh-huh.
and right now it doesn't feel like work, so I enjoy every minute of it.
That's such a great sign. Now, I did not realize you and Amir hadn't met in person when you decided to launch the podcast.
Mhm.
That's interesting because I always felt that if you're going to be a co-host, if you're going to, you have to feel the vibe of that person.
Mhm.
But you felt the vibe, I guess, across the computer
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah. Just talking so much, us doing the planning out for it, our backgrounds. We're both in tech. He's an executive, same as me. So it just aligned. It was meant for it to happen. And I think it wouldn't have happened if we both had the same executive coach. I don't think it would have happened if we didn't all of a sudden be in that same community together. But I'm glad it did. I definitely call him one of my friends,
Yeah.
not just a person who's on the podcast with me. And we're growing together with this podcast and what we do in the tech space as well.
Okay. So you mentioned having a coach, an executive
Hmm.
coach, which I find really interesting because sometimes, up until I got into this space, I thought people in the C suite had it all figured out. I mean,
Hmm.
that's how they got there,
Hmm.
right? Can you speak a little bit to how important or how you feel having a coach at that level still helps you?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I told everybody this. I didn't know I needed an executive coach until I got one.
Uh-huh.
And then when I got one, I understood those gaps
Mm.
that I had, the ones that, I felt awkward about, that unknown in that space. So executive coach has definitely helped. I would suggest an executive coach for anyone. You don't have to be an executive in order to have an executive coach. You could be, mid-career, you could be a senior manager, director, but I think having an executive coach is going to help you with that unknown. And that was for me,
Hmm.
was the question was always this unknown area that I didn't understand. And an executive coach opened my eyes to that. I changed a lot of things in the past couple of months now
Okay.
that I have seen a return on investment before. So I would suggest to anyone, no matter what level you're at, especially when you start getting mid-career and you feel like you're not moving, you
Hmm.
feel like, hey, I'm doing my job, I'm doing these tasks, but for some reason I just can't make it over the hump. That's when you should start thinking about an executive coach. When you start feeling that, not understanding why I can't make it to the next level, I'm doing everything right. What's stopping me from getting there? But I found out it is more than just doing your job. There's a lot of soft skills you have to have in
Mm.
order to be in the C-suite. I always tell people that you have to be a lion in a room with other lions, and that is the C-suite. That's an
Ooh.
executive. That's the boardroom. You have to be a lion, because if you're a sheep,
Mhm.
you will get eaten by other lions. So I definitely
Oh.
say you have to have that presence. What people say executive presence, I call executive swagger.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly where I went because
Yeah.
I've heard you mention that before.
I call it executive swagger, and you have to have that swagger when you're dealing with other lions, other executives, no matter if it's at your job or if it's at a social, etc. You have to have that presence and that commanding presence for other people to understand you. The technical skills are great,
Mhm.
when you're moving up in your career, but there's a lot of soft skills that you have to obtain in order to be ready for that next level.
Now I'm curious because you speak with wisdom.
Mhm.
What was that aha moment for you? When did you realize, "Oh, I'm getting my return on investment"?
It was from other people. Other
Okay.
people told me they noticed the way I presented myself. They felt it in a way that everything was different with me. The way I commanded the room, the way I talked to people. One of the initial things, and I've talked about this many times, was I had to stop saying sir and ma'am.
Oh,
Was one of the main things. My executive coach, his background is from the military, he
okay.
served. He said, "You have to stop doing that." And I didn't understand why at first, because I was doing it out of respect. Like,
Right.
if I call you sir and ma'am, it's respect. It didn't matter how old you were, etc. But he said, when you say sir and ma'am, people look at you at a service level. They don't look at you as a person that's an equal and that can be in the room with them at the same time. So that was the initial first piece that changed for me after that.
Mhm.
Once I started calling everyone, no matter who they were, by their first name, I saw people start gravitating more to me, because at an executive level, people are just people at the end of the day.
Mhm.
You put your shoes on just like everybody else. It's not this thing that a lot of people get when they see someone who's in the C-suite. It's like, oh my God, who's that? Maybe I should be quiet. No, speak to them, have conversations, because at the end of the day, people are just people. People want to be just interact like they're just normal folks, regardless of what their title is. And that's the same thing that transcends for me when it comes to jujitsu.
Mhm.
There's a ton of people I train with who were C-suite executives, Fortune 500 companies. I didn't get to know that at first. It was just us training on the mat. And then later on, you find out that they're doing so many great things in their professional life
Yeah.
outside of that. But it's just understanding that people are people at the end of the day. It just means that, far as the executive suite and the boardroom, they just got there before you did. That's the only difference between you, and you just have to understand that and upskill yourself to be ready for that next level.
I mean, I feel like this is gonna be the shortest podcast I've ever hosted. We're done. There's the takeaway, and it's golden. All right. See everyone in 2 weeks. Just thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
That is advice that I've never received, and it's mind-blowing, and you are so right. You I wanna hone in a bit on executive swagger because that's
Mhm.
a great, great word, and if you haven't trademarked it, you totally
Oh,
should. Is
it's
it?
trademark. I'm gonna say it again. It's trademark.
Great. So you see I'm wearing my bold red lip, and
Mhm.
that's intentional.
Mhm.
It's memorable. I read a book, now it's maybe 5 or 6 years ago, about a high performing real estate agent, and he said, "Have something that people remember." For some, it's this lady who puts a flower maybe like in her lapel. For him, honestly, I can't remember what he said, but that got me thinking. And I've always been a bit of a rebel. I changed my signature to be the planner with the Kafka tattoo and got in trouble for it. But, it had me thinking. And I know many, many women or many people enjoy a bold red lip,
Mhm.
but I feel that has made me memorable and people have brought it up. Like,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, Danny, she came to that event. You remember she had that red lipstick?
Mhm.
Is there something that you intentionally wear or use? And I'll be for the red lip, it makes me feel powerful
Yeah.
too. So it's psychological.
Yeah.
Is there something that you wear or put on? You're like, this is my executive swagger.
I think I always tell people in the shortest span of, if you want to understand executive swag, it's the same thing like you say with that red lipstick. It's the same thing when, for me, I put on the right suit. I
Mm.
feel it. I understand it. It feels good. Same thing for anybody. It doesn't just have to be, executive swagger isn't just for men. It's for everybody.
Mhm.
Like for you, when you put on that red lipstick and you walk into those rooms, that's your executive swagger. It's that presence. You're commanding the room, and you feel ready for anything that's going to happen. And the same thing for me. Executive swagger is similar to executive presence, but it's that confidence that you bring in the room. There's a lot of times I put on a suit jacket. I mentally say, executive swagger, meaning I'm ready for that room, ready to talk to people, ready to introduce. I'm not going to be a person who's going to be on the sideline and wait for someone to come speak to me. I'm going to get to know everybody. I want to know about you and who you are. The professional side is second. Is first, let's establish that relationship. Let's build that connection. And then everything else can follow after that. And that is executive swagger. For me, it's just commanding the room, knowing that even though I'm with another bunch of executives in a boardroom in a meeting, that I'm seen, that I matter to this conversation. And that's part of being, or having that executive swagger.
Mm. You mentioned that you are an executive in technology. Yeah. How has I'm trying there are things I want to talk about, but I'm trying to let the conversation flow too. One of at my heart, and that's why this podcast exists, is mentorship. And you are at a level now where you offer that mentorship. Yeah. Can you speak a little bit to just how important it's been you have a coach, but you are also a mentor, about giving back? How does that make you a better executive, better person?
I love being a mentor because I always go back to when I started in tech. Someone took a chance on me when they didn't have to and decided they were going to show me everything that they knew. And this is when I was still in college and I had a job working at LSU Medical Health Science. This was in New Orleans. And I had a great mentor. He was my first one, Brian Birch. I worked with him and he was like, I'm going to show you everything that I know. And when he did that, because I took that to heart because he didn't have to. I could have just been another person who worked with him. That's it, but he decided to do that. And when he did that, I decided I was going to pay it forward ever since. So my entire career, since I started, I've always tried to share every bit of knowledge that I know. Even now, I try to share with anyone who's trying to get there, who's already there. Someone asked about executive coach. I have a great one. Let's talk about why you need an executive coach and go from there. If you're looking to understand what do you need in order to make it to this next level or any level, I will give all the knowledge that I have. Because at the end of the day, I want to see other people become great leaders themselves. That is my main goal outside of a job description, is to create other leaders.
Are you intimidated or scared that someone may outshine you?
No, there's enough room for everybody. That's the great thing about it. There's enough room for everybody. If someone is doing better than me, I always congratulate somebody. Somebody gets a new job, I'm ready to congratulate them. Anyone on my team leaves and goes for another job, I am very happy for them because you have your own journey just like I have. And sometimes you're not going to stay at a job 10, 20 years. No one does that anymore. Usually you're between 5 and 7, maybe 10 if you're lucky, but people move from job to job these days. And I'm okay with that. So I want to see other people succeed and other people grow. I just hope that I'm a little part of that journey, a small part. That's good enough for me. So my job, like I say, is to continue to create other leaders. Someone put a lot of effort in me along my journey. I've had many, many great mentors. Some people who didn't even know they were my mentor, but that was just me watching the good and watching the bad. I always say you pick up great things from great leaders, but you pick up a lot from bad leaders as well of what not to do. And I've got to see that through my career. My career isn't ending yet. Just because I made it one spot doesn't mean my career is over. So I continue to learn from other great leaders along the way. And hopefully when it's said and done, someone says, hey, Renard, he was a great mentor. He was a great leader. And it just someone else keeps paying it forward after that.
I believe your first episode was on mentorship. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And I listened to that one and I was live commenting to you. I was like, oh my God, yes. Oh, I'm screaming. This is so true. But you spoke to, it's okay to ask.
Yes.
The person that you admire or you've been watching, will you mentor me?
Yeah.
And 100%, I'm a believer in that. I have gone to people who have something that like, I want that. Now, I have also established that relationship, right? Because you don't want to, or I don't want to speak for you, but I wouldn't want to come off as being, making that other person feel I'm taking advantage of them. So, but I've mentioned this before. Confidence was something that I really struggled with. A lot of that I understand came from my background of being really overweight in high school. And so there's some of that childhood wound stuff, that needed to be healed. But I went and asked someone, like, you are so confident. Can you help me grow my confidence? And he said yes. And so when you mentioned that on the podcast, I literally almost screamed, like, yes. Can you give the community some advice on that approach, on being able to ask someone?
I think you just have to be confident enough to ask. Like I always say, you have to build that relationship first. You don't want to go to anyone and just say, hey, will you do something for me? It's, hey, I want to establish a relationship with you. I want to build this. And then everything else just happens organically after that. That's with mentorship, sponsorship, whatever that is, building those connections. I want to get to know you first, worry about business at another time. Because that'll come later on. It doesn't have to be the very first thing we talk about is, oh, let's exchange cards so we can get to, do some business together. Let's understand each other. Let's see if we sync together and then go from there. My podcast was built on us building a connection, building a rapport, and then we built the podcast after that. So I have a co-host who is actually a friend, not just someone I do a podcast with. So it's the same thing with mentorship. Talk to them. Be honest with them. The worst thing they can say is no. That's what I learned. That's the worst thing. You move on. You keep going on after that to the next person. I've been lucky enough. No one has said no so far. They've seen greatness in me when I didn't see it in myself. And that's a great mentor. Someone who sees greatness in you when you don't even see it in yourself. Someone who says, you know what? I'm going to push you a little bit. It's going to get very uncomfortable for you, but I see you at the end and where you're going to be. And I've been lucky enough to have that along the way. So I suggest other people do the same thing. Ask. The worst thing they're going to tell you is no. And that starts building that confidence when you understand, when someone says no, it's okay. You move on to the next after that.
So several times throughout this conversation, you've mentioned connection and building relationships. How would someone go about making that first step? And I'm thinking, someone who's just naturally introverted, I've had to learn how to approach someone. Well, let's one question at a time, Danny. And that's feedback I've received from my audience. Or Danny, one question at a time. So let's start with that. What advice could you give someone who struggles with making that initial connection?
So, the funny thing is I was an introvert.
Really?
Yeah, I was a major introvert growing up. I had to really get to know you in order to start having those conversations, and it just changed over time. And that's building that confidence over time and just having conversations. But honestly, a lot of executive people who are in the boardroom, people you see on TV, are actually introverts. It's just something they have to do. A lot of them, I talk to other executives, even on my podcast, and they've said, I really don't want to go to these socials, but it's part of my job that I have to do.
Yeah.
They would rather be at home and just be with family. And I'm the same way. I love being at home. I love being with my fiance, love spending time with my son and his fiance. So that's home for me. But far as someone trying to get out of that uncomfortable feeling, you have to be willing to be okay being uncomfortable. That's what I've learned through all this time. You have to learn to be okay with being uncomfortable. When you start being okay with that, you're willing to go past that uncomfortableness in order to get that return on investment. Anything I've done that has been uncomfortable has been great for me. Every single thing. Jiu-Jitsu was uncomfortable. I've been doing that for 14 years straight. And I was uncomfortable when I started. Meeting my fiance was a little uncomfortable. Proposing to her was uncomfortable, but I did it anyway because I knew that what was going to happen at the end. So
Mm.
I would tell anybody, even if you're an introvert, and there are great executives who are introverts. There's a lot of them. We see them all the time. We can name many companies who the head of their companies are introverts,
Mm.
but that doesn't mean you can't make it to the C-suite, the boardroom, board of directors, whatever you want to do. It's just a different style that you're going to have to grasp in order to get there. Like I said, I was an introvert. And in some aspects, I'm still a little bit of an introvert.
Uh-huh.
But over time, that changed because I understood how connections are so great with people. Even if you take the business part out, I'm just Renard. That's all. That's who I am. I'm Renard who loves spending time with family outside of that's all. That's who I am. So me building connections is building connections, trying to understand who you are. And I would tell anybody who's trying to do that, which I will say, I wish I knew about how strong connections were when I started, because
100%.
I did not know. Mine was like, I keep my head down, I work real hard, the connections will come. And I'll be honest, I just started building a lot of connections the past few years.
Yeah.
But when I started my career, I didn't knew that was really important, because I tell anybody, those connections you build, people will start watching your career throughout. And
Yes.
sometimes after a while, they'll start tapping you on the shoulder, say, hey, I've been watching your career. I have an opportunity for you. So that's why it's so important to build those connections, because you never know who's watching your career along the way. They might not say anything to you. They might not even like anything that you do on LinkedIn, but that doesn't mean someone is not watching and saying, you know what? I've been watching this person. We have an opportunity over here. Let me go talk to you. It's happened to me. I've had people who are also executives tap me and say, hey, I've been watching your career. You've been doing a great job. And that just means I know that I'm doing the right thing and going in the right direction.
I love that you spoke to that, because almost every position that I've managed to get to
Mm-hmm.
has been because of a connection,
Mm-hmm.
or, as you mentioned, the presence
Mm-hmm.
and the growth. And one of my favorite sayings or expressions are, I'm going to take you back to Sunday school, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives me such joy when people are shining their lights, because you don't know who, when you mentioned you don't know who's watching,
Mm-hmm.
but you also don't know who needs it.
Yes.
And so thank you. Thank you for speaking to that.
Mm.
Now, I was so excited to be able to jump into the conversation on jujitsu.
Mm-hmm.
One, I know nothing about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I love running, and I'm, train. And you spoke to dating and, finding your fiance and then
Mm-hmm.
proposing.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband and I, we recently got married in December.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But we connected over running. We
Mm-hmm.
actually met on Bumble, and we had like our profiles were full of running pictures. It was interesting to me that he chose to swipe. I think he swiped up, so he super liked me on the CrossFit picture that I had, which
Mm-hmm.
I thought was interesting. But he had this really cute running photo where it's like both the feet are off the ground, and it's that, as a runner, you love when they can capture that.
Mm-hmm.
So I do appreciate the long training that
Mm-hmm.
can happen when you are
Mm-hmm.
pursuing a goal.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned you've been doing jujitsu for 14 years.
Yeah.
So you got started a bit later in life.
Yes. Yes.
Why?
It was something that I sports in general, just physical fitness. I did football when I was in
Yeah.
high school. I played basketball, etc. Jiu-jitsu always spoke to me. So when I moved here is when I started doing jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu wasn't a big thing in New Orleans, but once I started watching, like many other people, the UFC,
Mhm.
started watching fights.
Yeah.
That's how I started seeing jiu-jitsu. And once I started, I got the bug and have been doing it ever since. It's part of my life. It's something that I wouldn't be able to give up even if I tried to give it up. It keeps me centered. It keeps me calm. A lot of times when I'm in the office, a lot of people wonder why I'm so calm. It's like, it's because of jujitsu. That's why, because it's, like you understand as being a person who loves to run, you're tired, you're exhausted, but you're happy.
Mhm.
That's the same thing for jiu-jitsu. I'm tired. I'm exhausted at the end. Something hurts, but I was so happy that I went and trained because I get to train with other people, other friends,
Mm.
other people I'm getting to learn about, etc. The last person we had on my podcast, which the episode isn't out yet, he trains with me. I didn't know he was a CISO. He's been a 4-time CISO. I didn't know that when we started training. We started knowing about each other on the professional side later on.
Mhm.
We knew about each other on the mats. We trained a lot, and then we started knowing about our professional lives after that. So it's just that connection, that bond that you get, and a lot of people gravitate to that because a lot of people who played sports, even when you run, you might be running by yourself, but when you start running with a group, you start getting to know that group.
Yeah.
You know, like you say, you and your husband aligned each other because y'all both like to run. That's a connection that y'all built. The same thing we build with people who we train with. Some of the best friends I have is because of jiu-jitsu. So I love every bit of it. I couldn't stop doing it if I wanted to. I feel bad if I get hurt and I miss a week, 2 weeks. I feel bad.
Yep.
I have to train. It keeps me centered, it keeps me calm. I always joke, it keeps the Hulk in, you know. So
Yes.
I get to be Bruce Banner on a normal day. With jiu-jitsu, the Hulk stays in. So that happens for a lot of us. And you notice people who excel, like you say, at running, at sports, they do great in their professional life as well. And that's a combination that a lot of people don't understand. People who do well and excel in other avenues do well in their professional life as well. So it's a great connection for that. And I enjoy every minute. I'm gonna keep doing it even if I'm alive to 90, I'm gonna still train jiu-jitsu. I will figure a way for that to happen. I train with people who are older than me and they're in the best shape of their life. I'm a big guy, but I'm in better shape than I was when I was in my 20s.
Uh-huh.
You know, I do more. I'm more active now. You know, like I said, you do running. I love the Peloton.
Yeah.
I will train on the Peloton on a regular basis. I did it this morning. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. So it's just that part of jiu-jitsu just transcends everything, and I'm grateful to have that part of my life. And I was lucky enough to train as long, get a black belt. I get to teach. I still get to train, so I get to see the next group come up and become black belts themselves. Jiu-jitsu is really a pay it forward type of martial arts.
Mhm.
They call it the gentle art, but technically it's not gentle at all. But you get to pay it forward to someone else. The new student who starts off at a white belt, you get to help them along the way. So that's the same thing I took from jiu-jitsu, and I do the same thing in my professional life.
Can definitely see where your heart's aligned and why. I mean, it's just natural that you appreciate mentorship so much because it's being reflected in just your philosophy on
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. So you spoke to, the people that you're training with and building the community there too. And I have to mention that when Brian and I started dating, we realized we knew other runners. We just hadn't met. And oh my gosh, it made the vetting process so easy because they're like, oh, Brian, he's cool. Oh, Danny, she's cool. But again, you got to act right at Run Club because if not, it could have been like, oh, Danny, oh my gosh, she missed her target pace one time and she went crazy. So yeah, I really do though love how you appreciate the mental aspect also of training and how that just helps you. You've mentioned several times now upskilling and I say leveling up. So let's take us through a day. Because you are functioning at a high level. How do you keep yourself focused?
I think for me, luckily enough, I had to understand the difference between. I always have this conversation. I always tell people the difference between management and leadership.
Oh,
Because both of them are different.
okay.
So for managers, most of the time, they're focused on their department only. When you start changing to a leadership mindset, you start thinking of the business as a whole. That changes the way you view things, the way you see things at any company. So even if you're, let's say, a service desk manager in IT, you're a service desk manager, when you start looking at the business, you understand if the CEO has an issue, it doesn't just affect him, it affects the entire business. So you have to be more business minded and take things like everything's critical. Like if the CEO can't use his computer, that means something else is falling apart. We need to move as fast as we can in order to get his computer running as possible. That's thinking of the business, not just thinking of the person himself or
Mhm.
herself at the same time. So for me, I can't do the day to day anymore. Doesn't happen anymore. I haven't been able to do the day to day in years anymore, but I keep a pulse on it to see what's going on. But my job is to make sure that I'm a strategic partner for the business. And that's leadership. You have to understand that you are now, no matter what position you are, you're a strategic partner for the business. The business is going to come to you, going to come to even me, like on a technical aspect, going to ask me about technology, going to ask me about
Yes.
AI, what makes sense, etc. So you always have to be business minded. That was a switch I had to understand as well. I
Mhm.
couldn't just think about what are we going to do at a department level. I need to understand what are we going to do at a business level. I need to understand the mission and the vision of the entire business and how my department can help further that going forward.
Mhm.
That's a switch. That's an upskill that you have to understand. Or like you say, leveling up, you have to understand that if you understand two things, and someone told a great, I always call them great wise men or wise women.
Mhm.
If you understand any business and is to increase growth and mitigate risk, if you can understand those two and master those, you will become a great leader no matter what company you're at, big or small. So if you understand that, no matter what level you're at, you're always going to try to do the great work from a business level instead of just thinking, I just got to focus on my department.
I I will tell everyone my age. I'm 41, and I feel I've recently just understood
Mhm,
that looking at a business overall, and right now my company's implementing EOS,
mhm,
and the book Traction by Gino Wickman. That's We all read it. We have a facilitator, right? And what you're speaking to, we're discussing our values. What are our values as a company? Are we hiring to that? Or
mhm,
does our team believe in it? And now that I'm in it, it makes all the sense in the world.
mhm,
But even last year, I didn't realize the importance of that. And it kind of feels like the company is a living, breathing thing now.
mhm,
And to be quite honest, I'm a little embarrassed that it took that long to reach this. You said as like a switch
mhm.
flipped. And so thank you. I feel a bit normal hearing that. Okay, no, it's a switch that needed to
Mhm,
happen.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think it happens. I wouldn't be. Don't be upset that it didn't happen in your 20s or your 30s. It happened when it was supposed to happen for you.
Mm,
I look at the same way when it goes to my journey. I'm 46 now. My journey hasn't ended. A lot of things change in my journey. You always sit there and say, "Oh, I wish I knew what I knew now back then." Yes, of course, but your journey is already paved already. You're just following it. So if it was meant for you to know that at 41, that was the time for you in order for you to get better and keep going. The same thing for me. I still have a lot to learn. I haven't reached the top of where I want to go, but a lot of things have happened in a short period of time for me that I'm very grateful for. So I will say that along any journey, if it's my professional, my personal, I'm
mhm.
very grateful and feel very blessed to be able to do what I do and be able to keep following that journey.
And once you learn it,
Hmm.
you can't unlearn it. So now
Correct.
it's this lens
Hmm.
that I see everything as. Now,
Hmm.
I go back and reflect on, oh, I had applied for this position, but the way that I was treated throughout the process makes me realize, well, I'm glad that
Hmm.
because my values don't align with that. And
Hmm.
I'm glad that that didn't happen. And it, like, just that's the way it needed to have
Hmm.
happened. But now I have the terminology
Hmm.
and the know how to understand, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mentioned Traction by Gino Wickman.
Hmm.
Are there any books that you've read recently that you feel have helped with those upskills?
Man, it's so many books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um,
Cut through the noise for
it's
us.
so many books. I will say a great book that I've read. It wasn't recently, but it's in a mound of books that I read on a regular basis. The Art of Laziness is a great book.
Okay.
And the reason that is, it's The Art of Laziness is a book about how you can stop procrastinating. And it's a part that
I'm gonna hide here.
it's a part that most people think, because people think that you have so much time. So people put off things because we feel this weird feeling that we have so much time, but we actually don't.
Mm,
Every next day, that means our time is shorter. So it's really telling you to stop procrastinating, do what you love, do what you want to do before it becomes your time. It was something I had to understand when I started reading. I was like, that is true. We walk around thinking we have so much time. That's why you always, hey, well, I'll put it off to tomorrow. I'll put it off the next week. But you actually don't know how much time you have. Everybody has a clock.
yep.
We have to admit that everyone has a clock, but nobody knows when the clock stops. So that's about the art of laziness, to stop the procrastination in order to do the things that you love. If you want to get better, you want to upskill yourself, then do it. Don't wait and say, well, next month I'll do this. We hear a lot about when people want to do diets or people want to exercise. Oh, I'll put it off the next month. No,
Till Monday.
do today.
Yeah.
Do it today. It's gonna be terrible for you. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be painful. You're not gonna like it, but eventually it's gonna get better.
Yeah.
I'm sure when you ran the very first time, you was like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Well, I'm in that season again because I'm coming off of foot surgery. And I actually this morning ran with my friends that I struggled to keep up with. And a year ago, I didn't.
See? And then all of a sudden, eventually you keep doing the consistency. All of a sudden, you're going to get back to the way you were. Same thing was me. I had hip surgery almost 2 years ago. It was from an old football injury, had to have hip surgery. We wound up buying a Peloton in the house. And I couldn't ride a bike for 20 years because of my hip. My
Oh,
hip wouldn't allow me to move my legs correctly the right way. So as soon as I had hip surgery, my focus became, I'm going to ride that Peloton bike.
yeah.
As soon as the doctor told me I could ride the bike, I've been riding it ever since. And I enjoy that. I remember my very first ride, 10 minutes felt like an hour. I was dying. I wanted to get off the bike. And I always tell people, it's never the first 5 minutes when you're working out or you're running, it's the last 5.
Yeah.
The last 5 feels like another 30 minutes. You feel like that finish line just gets further and further and further. And that's where that mental change happens for you. Either you're going to push past it or you're going to quit, because your mind is telling you it's okay for you to quit. I hear it all the time when I'm training, or if I'm riding a bike, I hear it. It's saying, it's okay. You remember you did 30 minutes yesterday. It's okay for you to stop. But I push past that in order to finish, and I feel great after. It's the same thing in your professional life. It's consistency. It's little improvements over time. And that's that consistency. Upskilling is consistency. You want to improve. If you talk about basketball, if you want to get better, you play with better people. Same thing
Yeah.
when it comes to anything else in your life. If you want to improve, you're going to have to get into that uncomfortable spot. You want to learn a foreign language, it's going to get uncomfortable. But eventually you're going to master it, and all of a sudden you become fluent in another language.
Oh, Renard, I feel like God has put you in the seat today to speak to my heart, which lets me know that other people need to hear this as well. I'm going to put that book, The Art of Laziness, in my Amazon cart as soon as we finish the recording. But, you spoke to the art of laziness and overcoming procrastination to help build that life. But when you have some of these other tools, like you said, I have a business coach, you have an executive coach, they can help you frame that language to help you get towards your goals.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, I'm having my own aha moment here. I feel like once it gets on YouTube, put a little light bulb over my head. So let's speak a little bit more on the jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So tell us about a moment where you were training for your black belt, because that's ultimate goal, right? Maybe not for some people, they just enjoy going to train, but you had a goal in mind. How did you overcome those moments? Or actually, no, I want to know about a moment where you said, I'm done, I'm over this, and you had to push through.
I think everybody feels that eventually. So as I talk about, I've been training for 14 years, but most of that time I trained with a bad hip. So there were many times I wanted to quit. I was in a lot of pain, etc. Most of the people I trained with didn't find out I had a bad hip until we got closer around to the time I got my black belt. So my goal, no matter what, going through all that pain, was I want to get my black belt.
Mhm.
And I was at brown belt. My hip was getting worse. It was painful, and I didn't think I was actually going to get my black belt this year. I said, if I don't get this year, I'm going to surgery.
Mhm.
It has to happen. I'm in too much pain. And also, my coach, who helped me fall in love with jujitsu, that's what I say. It's part of my life. He told me I was going to get my black belt. So I went up there. I got my black belt, limping and everything, in pain. I got it, and a month later, I went right into surgery after
Uh-huh.
that. So it was a goal that I've been training all this time. I have to make that. I
Mm.
have to get there. And now I get to train. I get to do stuff that I couldn't do before. Like I said, I was training with a bad hip for 13 out of the 14 years.
Yeah.
So being able to do the things I can do now is it inspires me, just seeing like, oh, okay, I can do this now and I couldn't do it before. So
Uh-huh.
I learned during that time how to adapt and adjust when I had a bad hip, and now I'm doing the same thing. I'm adjusting, but in a good way, to what I can do now. So jujitsu is like anything else, like a sport, something that you love, and something that's going to be grueling, something that's going to be hard at sometimes. Sometimes you're going to leave and you're going to feel defeated, but you want to keep going back.
Mhm.
I remember when I first started, I had a football background. I had a small guy choke me out almost 3 different times, back to back. And jujitsu will humble you. It will make you understand, like, hey, I need to understand this a lot more.
Yeah.
I just can't do X, Y, and Z anymore. It will humble you. That's why that humbleness went into my professional life.
Uh-huh.
And being grateful for the things that I have went into my professional life. So I take a lot of aspects of martial arts or jujitsu, and I use that into my leadership style. When I see someone who I can see who's going to be great, that comes coaching them to do better, coaching them to become a leader themselves.
Mm.
And just that peace that I get, I take the peace
Mhm.
to my professional life.
Yeah.
I'm calm around the office. I don't get upset, even though there might be a fire, which when you're an executive or you're in leadership, whatever that is, you could be middle manager, you have to deal with fires. You need to be calm so your team can be calm, because they see you losing it. They don't feel confident in what they can do. So
Yeah.
I'm always calm, and jujitsu is one of those aspects. So jujitsu gives you more than just this black belt.
Mhm.
You become a student no matter what. So yes, I'm a black belt, but I'm still a student. I'm still learning. I'm still getting better. I'm still a white belt. The very first belt. That's the great thing. When you're a black belt, you're still always a white belt, because you're always a student no matter what. There's always going to be a new move, a new way to do things. The same thing when it comes to professional life. There's change all the time.
AI.
Yes, change all the time. I recently even posted about, in the past 30 years, how technology has moved so fast in a 30-year span. And now we're about to go into this age of AI and quantum computing. We're going to even move in any faster. So it's best to adapt and understand and continue to be a student at every single level.
I say that being an executive assistant, so I love all the assessments, and eventually I'll ask you, what is your Myers-Briggs? Or did you take the DOT profile? What is
Hmm.
your predictive index? I also am curious just about people's signs.
Hmm.
And I joke that I'm a Taurus, so I can be very stubborn. And it took me working with a Libra executive. And if you know anything about Libras, they go with the wind. So their decisions can move from one to the other within an hour.
Hmm.
So I joke that I needed to learn how to be flexible,
Hmm.
and that was uncomfortable. And that it sounds like maybe I need to put some jujitsu in my life, but honestly, I just don't have time to put something else on my plate right now. But you have me thinking, well, what is something that I could do today that would help me? Because I'll be the first to tell you that when things start to go a little sideways for my executive, I get nervous and I get anxious
Hmm.
and I want to fix the problem, because I that's just my natural where I go to. I need to execute and I need to solve it.
Hmm.
And So that flexibility and being able to stay calm, it sounds like I need to figure out something today to help build that skill into my life. And as much as it sounds like it's jujitsu, I know it's not jujitsu for me
Mm.
just because I don't have the time to train in that avenue. So,
Running for you is yours.
right.
That's what it is for you. It doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu. You already have something. You have running. That is your piece. I'm sure when you're running, everything gets quiet.
Well, right now I'm sorting through why is this so hard when it's not noise in my head? But you are right. Once you can get past that.
That's that you already have something already. Everybody has something different. It could be reading, might be someone's piece in their quiet place. For me, it's jujitsu. For you, it's running. Somebody else is cycling. Who knows? Some people it's fishing.
Yeah.
It
My
just
dad.
depends. What's your peace, your calm? For me, the noise stops for 2 hours when I step on the mat. I don't have to deal with work. I don't have to deal with anything. So everything gets quiet. And then I step off the mat, and now I'm ready for the day after that. I'm ready to tackle whatever comes in front of me. But for those 2 hours, I don't have to worry about anything. All I have to do is focus on training, focus on someone stop from choking me out or trying to break a limb.
Yeah.
So everything else becomes minor after that. And that's a great thing about jiu-jitsu is that everything else, if you think about it, when you're in a sense fighting for your life, everything else is minor after that. That fire that's going on at work, for mentally it's minor. Yes, it's critical, but you're not taking it to this high level in your mind. You're like, you know what, we're going to solve it. We're going to keep moving forward. I always say not every week is going to be a great week.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to be bad, but you just keep moving forward after that. And that's what I take every single week. I start the week. This week might not be the greatest week. Might be okay. Next week might be a great week. We solved a lot of things. We kept things moving. The next couple of weeks after that might get real bad, might get hectic, might get crazy. But I know that every week is not going to be the greatest week at work, and that we just got to keep moving. I always say chop down the tree. We got to continue to chop down the tree.
How do you celebrate those wins when the tree is chopped?
Oh man. Personally or with the team?
Both.
Team, we always celebrate.
Uh-huh.
I always tell them how much I appreciate them, for letting me lead them, because I always say it's a two-way street. You have to be a person that they want to follow. They want to listen to, because, so I always appreciate that they let me lead them. But understanding that when we win together. But when we fail together as well, and we learn from it, and we just improve after that. So celebrating those are great. Personally, I'm just glad that we did something great and we keep moving forward. I get excited about it. I get happy about it. But I also look at it like, what can I even learn from the wins? What can we do better? How can we be more efficient? How, it might have took X amount of days, how we can shorten that gap. And for me, it's always looking for what's next after that. I have to stay that way.
When you do these reflections, are you writing them down? Are you taking a minute and kind of just sitting quietly? I'm curious how this process on this reflection.
For me, do I write it down? No, I don't write it down. But I take it as a part that, hey, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing my job.
Mhm.
I'm still on that right path at that time. So I take it at that. I take it at that. Put a little smile on my face, but keep moving forward. I always say the job's not done.
Mm.
Just because we reach this, the job is still not done. So I have to always take a little minute, be happy about it, but then I always have to look at what's next after that. But for the team, yeah, I love seeing that because we did great, the team grows from that. They get better. They upskill themselves. You see someone who maybe was uncomfortable at one point in time, you see them a lot differently. I have a lot of people on my team like that when before I got there, their attitudes were different, the way they approach things were different. Now all of a sudden they have the shine in their eyes that I see every time when we win, or when they're the person who solves something, etc. So it's always great to see.
What is the value? I wish the community was here in the room with you because the care
Mhm.
that you have is almost palpable. It's radiating off of you. What is a value that you carry that has moved you through life?
Being humbled and being blessed.
Mm,
Those are the two for me. I look at it, I love doing what I'm doing, but I always go back to home. Home is really important because I always say when it's time for me to go, I only want to I don't want to be remembered for work. I don't
mm.
want to be remembered as this great leader. I don't want to be remembered for that. The only things I want to be remembered for when it's my time to go is a great father, a great husband, and a great friend. That's it. Because you never want someone to be at your funeral and say, "Man, Renard worked hard. Man, that was great.
Yeah.
He worked really hard." I just want people to just say, "Man, he was a great father. He loved his kids. He was a great husband. He loved his wife, and he was a great friend. He was always there for us." That's all I want to be remembered for. So, this part of my professional life is great. Yes. I love doing what I'm doing. I love creating other leaders. I love leading. I love people that allow me to lead, and I appreciate that, but at the end of the day, I just want to be remembered for 3 things at the end of the day.
I that is just such a beautiful way to put everything into perspective, Renard. Other than that little stumble in the middle, we've already hit an hour and it doesn't feel like it. Thank you so much again for sharing your time and your wisdom. Tell us, where can people find you online?
I'm on LinkedIn, Renard Henry. We have our podcast, Black Belts and Boardrooms. It's on every streaming platform, YouTube, and everything else. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm always happy to connect. Like I said, I love the power of connection. So I'm always here to have an open ear and an open mind with anyone who wants to connect.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.